we lost our baby. I just had tears running down my eyes, because when you've had 2 successful pregnancies and no miscarriage before, having a miscarriage in your 3rd pregnancy is like how does that even happen? You know how you feel like everything had happened so perfectly, getting pregnant almost immediately. It felt like God really had a plan and it was just the perfect time, and I couldn't understand it. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time, you're welcome. My name is Daniela Ukwa and I film about faith, love, lifestyle and self-development. So if you like all those kind of things, then you definitely want to stick around and hit the subscribe button. Today, I know I seem a little pumped and I seem upbeat. It has taken me a lot to be able to get to the point where I can sit down and do this video and talk about my life and the things that have happened in the past. It's been a journey, right? And a huge disclaimer, this is not a video to seek for sympathy or of any sort. It's been weeks since it happened, so I mean, I have gone past it. We as a family have gone past it as well. So just share with you where I've been, why I haven't been making videos on here since my last video, which was the vlog where I went to Lagos. So our last daughter, we have 2 children by the way, and our last daughter is 3 years and she turns 4 in a couple of weeks, right? And we just thought to ourselves, I think it's good if we, have another baby. I mean, it's been almost 4 years since our last baby. Yeah, so let's give it a try. So I was on family planning. I was supposed to have taken out the family planning that I had on, which was an IUD. I had been procrastinating taking this thing out. You guys, one particular day I go to the clinic. I wasn't ill or anything. I went to the clinic for something, I think to pick up something. And then I see the nurse that knows that I've been trying to book an appointment to take out my IUD. And she's like, oh, when are you coming to take out your IUD? I'm like, I'm coming soon, next week. She's like, no, not next week. We're doing it today. You procrastinated enough, we're doing it today. And then we go in, right, to take out the IUD. And during this session, something strange happens. So of course, you have to do a scan for you to locate, to check if the IUD is in the right place. I got it installed about 3 years ago. More than 3 years ago, because it was 6 weeks after, is that 6 weeks or 2 months after my last baby was born. So it's almost 4 years since I had that. That was 2020 or beginning of 2021 since I had the IUD in. So when she checked the scan, everything was in place, everything was fine. And then she goes and she says, I'm seeing something. Have you ever had a fibroid before? Have you ever had? I'm like, no, I don't have. Have you ever had a cyst? I said, no, I haven't had. So I'm seeing some things. And she goes, are you ovulating? I'm like, yes, I'm ovulating. And she's like, oh, fantastic. Then is your eggs I'm seeing. There's so many eggs. And she starts showing me and she gets excited on the screen. She's like, so many eggs, right? Anyways, I take her out the IUD. With that at the back of my mind, I go back home and I'm like, eggs. I'm ovulating. You guys piece the 2 together. So I do the fellowship with my husband. I didn't remember if I told him that she had said that. But anyways, we do our usual fellowship. And I'm not even kidding. Exactly 2 weeks after, I got pregnant. You guys, I got pregnant. And we're excited. Like, my husband was excited. I was excited. Life was going great. We hadn't told anyone. It was just both of us. I started experiencing symptoms. I was still some swellings. I had some nausea. I couldn't smell some certain foods being cooked. I was sleeping a lot. I couldn't even film. Like, I couldn't even do anything. So it kept on happening that way. Then I noticed that I started bloating a lot. And my previous pregnancies, I never really had bloating as one of the symptoms I had in the first trimester. And then sometimes this bloating would be that bad that I would feel like there's something in my belly. And by the time the thing settles, it comes out as fat, like as gas. So I was like, okay, this bloating is a bit weird. I've never experienced it before. I had like a program in church where I was serving at the time, and it was so hectic. Afterwards, I kind of broke down. I was feeling a bit ill. So when I went in, I asked the doctor if I could do a scan as well, just be sure that, my baby's there. I know that I'm pregnant and it's about 7 to 8 weeks now. I like to see my baby, and they were like, oh, you can do a scan, just that with a regular ultrasound scan, you would not be able to see clearly because the baby is really small. So you have to do a TVS, so a transvaginal scan, and that's the one where they have to pass something underneath. I'm like, yikes. But I was so curious. I really wanted to know that baby was there. So I did it and everything looked okay. And so I went back home I continued having these pregnancy symptoms. But one of the symptoms I knew I had was that my belly would get very hard. And I couldn't understand it because this is the first time experiencing that in the first trimester, where my belly would get very hard, like I was contracting. That happens, I just tell my husband, I'm like, babe, I can't even do anything. I have to sit down. So I would sit down, take a break or two. Then one fateful day, guys. This particular day, I had woken up from sleep. It was about 5 a.m.-ish. And I went to the bathroom to pee because, of course, I started peeing frequently. By the time I wiped, I saw like very, very tiny blood. I'm not even joking. Nothing significant. Like when you blow your nose and you see a strain of blood, something like that, kind of. So I looked into the WC and I couldn't see anything like blood or anything. I was like, okay, I dismissed it, but I was like, this is the first time I'm seeing it in any of my pregnancies. I was tempted to Google, which I did afterwards. And they're like, oh, some people experience bleeding. If it's not excessive, no cause for alarm. So I didn't do anything about it. I just went straight down to my husband. He was downstairs praying, and I said, babe, I just wiped and I saw this. And he was like, oh, while I was praying, I saw a vision of you and you were bleeding. But I've prayed for you, I've prayed about it, no cause for alarm. Thank you, Jesus. So we just thank God that whatever it was averted. Fast forward to a week later. This time around, I go to pee and I wipe and I see the same thing, but in a heavier measure. I wipe again and I don't really see anything. But by the time I stand up from the WC, I see a drop of blood. And I go to my husband, I'm like, babe, something is off. I have never experienced this before. Okay, get your bags, we're going to the clinic, right? This was the beginning of the news. So I get to the clinic and they do all their questions and everything, and they send me in for a scan. And I'm here lying on the bed, and the nurse is looking at me like the same nurse that did my scan at 7 weeks. She's not saying anything to me, right? I mean, we have a very cordial relationship, so I expected her to at least say something. And she's like, can you give me a moment? I need to call someone to give it a second look. And I'm like, is there a problem? Then she calls somebody, and the doctor comes in and looks in at the scan and takes over, and he starts checking to see. And they're like, you know what? We're going to refer you to another facility for another scan. We don't really know what's happening, but we can't see any fetus inside the sac. By this time, I was literally 1 week to the end of my first trimester. So, and I was still experiencing all the symptoms. Like I hadn't gone through any bleeding. They asked me, were you bleeding? Did you experience? I had no symptoms whatsoever like that. And so I just, and they told me, don't worry, be calm. I'm just going to send you to another facility. They're going to do a scan for you and to be fine. I immediately called my husband. I'm like, babe, you need to come and get me. They asked me to go to another facility because from what they are saying, they can't really see the fetus. I couldn't even understand, like, where did the baby go? Anyways, let me not even get to all of that. I had so many questions, but I'm just like, you know what? Let me go to another facility. My husband drives me, and all the way to the place, I'm just quiet. My husband is quiet as well. And he's like, only the counsel of God will stand. We get to the facility. I even see somebody that I knew from secondary school. We say hi to each other. I'm just waiting. Then we get in for the scan. Now, the guy is doing the scan in this other facility, and he's like, did they tell you anything where you were referred from? I'm like, no, they asked us to just come for a scan, get the report, and revert to them. And he's like, okay, you know what, I'm going to print out the report. Just give me a moment, you guys can step away now. So we were waiting, and he comes back after some minutes with an envelope and the report inside. And I'm like, babe, I'm going to open this thing. My husband is like, no, why do you want to open it? Like, just wait till you get to the clinic and let them be able to review your results. I said to him, babe, I'm going to open this thing. So I got the envelope and I opened it, and I saw that they wrote blighted ovum and something about no fetus detected. You guys, the emotions that, like, I just had tears running down my eyes. Like, I was just in tears, because you know how you feel like everything had happened so perfectly, from having family planning to taking out the IUD to getting pregnant almost immediately. Like, it felt like God really had a plan and it was just the perfect time. And I couldn't understand it. And my husband is like, babe, just wait. Don't give up. This is not the report we believe. And I'm like, yes. But at that point, I feel like my faith was, you know how I kind of knew. I just kind of knew. I don't know how, but I kind of knew. I want to say it's lack of faith, but I don't know. I just kind of felt like I knew that this was it. So anyways, I wiped my tears and I'm just quiet. My husband had a meeting. So we stopped by for his meeting, very, very brief meeting, and in the car waiting for him. I called my friend and I said that she's shopping for skincare, and she's just telling me, oh, this is what I want to buy now. And then she looks at me and she's like, Chizzy, what's wrong? Chizzy, is everything okay? Is everything okay? I said, I don't know. And I just start crying. And she's like, where are you now? So she was in Wuse too. I was also in Wuse too. And she comes to meet me. Now, between the time we had the phone call and when she meets me up, I had an encounter with God. And I'll talk about what happened in the encounter in the next video. But pretty much, he told me, don't be afraid. Don't worry, like, I'm with you. And he told me a couple of words that I will tell you in my next video, so you want to watch out for that. And immediately I heard those words and he started reminding me about the journey, about how everything happened. I'm like, you mean this was the plan? Like, you mean you had a plan for when this happened? And I'm just like, you know what? There's no need to cry. God is with me. God knew about this. It's nothing happened to me. Everything happened for me. And she comes to meet me and she's like, she sees that I'm stronger. She's like, I'm sure she's like, this is not the person I spoke to over the phone. And I tell her what God told me and she's like, yes, I believe and everything. So after that, I went back. My husband comes out and then we go to the clinic to give them the result. And they say, oh, I'm sorry, we lost the pregnancy. From the scans, the fetal stopped growing at about 9-week count. The sac is growing, but there's no fetus inside. And there are different reasons why this can happen. I was just like, explain to me how a baby is no more in my belly. And I didn't bleed. I didn't have any, like, it was just so strange to me. Like, till today, I've been reading a lot about it. I'm like, I need to really understand. And if you know what that is, like, let me know, right? A doctor friend said that sometimes things happen and the pregnancy doesn't really go ahead and the body absorbs the sac or whatever. I was this confused, right, about it. And he now tells me, oh, look, right now we have two options. We can either wait for the body to pass out all the fetal tissue and everything, right? Or we book you for an evacuation. So if that doesn't come out well and we do a scan and we see that there's still stuff remaining, fetal tissue or baby, whatever things remaining there, your womb would have to do an evacuation. And I knew that I've heard about the evacuation procedure. I didn't want an evacuation procedure. So I literally just said, okay, no problem. So they gave me medication to help induce the expulsion process, right? So he was like, oh, you need to take it. There's a way you're supposed to take it. And they gave me accompanying painkillers that were very, very heavy. So they're like, it's going to be like labor pains and everything. And then the body is just literally contracting so you can pass it out naturally. But you have to take it early in the morning because I think there's an 8-hour, I don't remember how many hours now, like an 8-hour window. You have to keep taking it until the passage of time. I think it takes one full day. And this happened on a Thursday. Friday was my daughter's birthday. So I said, you know what? I already promised that we're going to go out with her cousins for her birthday. After her birthday, I'll take it on Saturday. So I can spend Saturday and Sunday passing out whatever needs to come out. Friday morning, the next day, I'm doing my Bible study. I'm still perplexed. I'm like, God, how did this happen? I'm like, I don't really understand what could have caused it. And I'm lying on my bed and I hear a voice say Zobo. And I'm like, Zobo. So I Google Zobo and miscarriages and I see a ton of things, and I had been taking Zobo in the time. Now I'm not saying that must have been the cause, but I'm like, God, this is something you're trying to tell me. Like, chances are that contributed to it, because in the Zobo I had made, there was lots of pineapples and I was taking it every single day because I wanted a healthier option than fizzy drinks, right? Because of the way I was feeling in my first trimester. That happened, and I was just telling God, just opening up to him and telling him how I really want him to make this process easy for me. As like it's been a journey and I don't want to ever go to evacuation. I was telling him that when I take the medication, let everything come out without any evacuation process. I want my womb to be clear. When I go back for the scan, I want them to see that my womb has returned to the regular size and everything was okay with me. And he just told me, you know what, don't be afraid. You guys, tell me why less than 3 minutes after this conversation with God, I started feeling cramps, like heavy cramps. I told my husband, I said, babe, I'm having serious cramps. Remember, this is my daughter's birthday, right? And I get up from the bed and I said, get up, I feel like water gushing down. And I immediately knew what it was. I ran to the toilet. I was on the toilet seat for like an hour and everything was just passing and passing and passing. But I told my husband, I said, babe, I think I need to take the medication now because this thing has started on its own without any medications. So I took the medications and I took the painkillers to also help with the cramping feeling and the pain. And I was there, and after it passed, started for like an hour, it passed. Sometime later I wore pads, it passed as well. And to be honest, it didn't take so long. After that first 1 hour, the other ones were just like literal blood clots that could stay on pads, right? And by the end of the day, I couldn't see anything. I started Googling it. I'm like, how long does it take for fetal tissue to pass? Because people said theirs took 2 days, people said theirs took some days up to a week. And I'm like, how is this done? Anyways, you guys, God miraculously caused everything to come out. The next 2 weeks, I went back to the hospital. They said my womb had returned to normal, everything had passed. There was no need for an evacuation. God, in his mercies, miraculously did that for me, for us as a family. Even though I couldn't make it for my daughter's birthday, but it was just like a huge testimony. And she kept on asking, Mommy, why can't you come with us? And I'm like, I'm not feeling so well, so I need to stay back. But I'm just so grateful. There's even a video of them gisting with me while I'm in the bathroom talking about birthday stuff, and I was literally passing fetal tissue. Like the strength that God gave me, the clarity of mind, the comfort and peace knowing that he was with me. He was with me. He is still with me through all those things I was going through. It was mind-blowing. We lost that baby. We lost that baby. I mean, it's been a journey. We've healed. My husband and I have healed. My husband is like, oh baby, you should just give this a break for now until the next 6 months before we start to try again or even think about baby. I want you to heal. I want us to just take our time. And I'm like, fine. But yeah, guys, that's what has been happening. We eventually broke the news to our family, our friends, like 2 weeks after when we were clear. We told them. A couple of them were sad.